Welcome and enjoy watching. Media's race, with the outline of a man clutching a rope-like item, a neck tie, by which one man is hanging one more off the edge of a structure. The man holding the necktie is Dae-Su Choi Min-sik, who orders the other man to hear his story. The film then slices in reverse to the year 1988. Dae-Su is a Korean finance manager with a spouse and girl. On his girl's 4th birthday celebration, he is gotten by police for being tanked and jumbled. He harasses a few others at the police headquarters, showing them the holy messenger's wings he purchased for his girl. At long last, he must be rescued by his close buddy, Jo-hwan. While Jo-hwan is in a telephone corner conversing with Dae-Su's little girl, Yoon-hee, and his better half, Kim Yo-hyun, Dae-Su is seized by unidentified individuals. Dae-Su next shows up in a confidential jail looking like a pitiful lodging. He has been saved there for a very long time without any expression of who is holding him there or why. He gets food through a little seal at the lower part of the entryway and is gassed into obviousness at whatever point he becomes self-destructive, or when his holders need admittance to the room, for example, to keep up with it, trim his hair. His main contact with the rest of the world is through the TV, from which he learns one day that his better half has been killed, his girl has been shipped off non-permanent parents, and that he is himself the excellent suspect. His detainers took blood and different things from him, and have probably passed on sufficient proof at the crime location to involve him as the culprit. This, along with his proceeded with imprisonment, causes Dae-Su to slide into close franticness and vicious mental trips. Endeavoring to figure out his mental stability and decide his detainer, Dae-Su fills a few journals with a collection of memoirs jail journal, posting everyone whom he might have potentially violated previously, however can't sort out, who might loathe him so significantly as to detain him like this. From year 5 on, he begins to tattoo lines in his arm for each year he is detained, and compels himself to prepare by shadowboxing, punching at the walls of his jail until thick calluses structure on his knuckles. At the point when one of his conveyances of broiled dumplings ends up having an additional metal chopstick, he hides it and utilizations it to dig an opening into one of the walls gradually. Throughout the following decade, he works out, follows recent developments on TV, and relaxes an adequate number of blocks to witness the rest of the world. He works out that he will require 1 more month to make the opening huge enough to get away. That evening, he is gassed once more and a woman entrances him. He awakens to new environmental elements, similarly as unexpectedly as he was caught. Dae-Su is liberated on the roof of a structure that has been developed over where he disappeared. He has another suit of garments and his jail journals. Acclimating to the splendid evening light, he sees another man sitting on the edge of the structure with his little canine, the principal person he has collaborated with in 15 years. Dae-Su is shocked, unfit to have a legitimate discussion with him. We discover that the man is self-destructive and tells Dae-Su, despite the fact that I'm no greater than a monster, don't I reserve the privilege to live? He then endeavors to leap off the edge, however Dae-Su gets his neck tie, saving him from death. Dae-Su advises the man to defer his passing, since he needs to recount to him his story, to which he expresses what? The scene closes at the point in which the film started. In the wake of relating his story, Dae-Su strolls off and out of the structure, overlooking the sorrowful man's request to pay attention to his story thus. As he is leaving the front entry, the self-destructive man lands on a vehicle behind Dae-Su, offing himself and his pet. Dae-Su stops, trailed by a wide grin. Giggle and the world chuckles with you. Sob and you sob alone, he contemplates internally. An immediate citation from the primary line of Ella Wheeler Wilcox's well-known sonnet, Solitude. All through the film, Dae-Su involves this statement as a mantra for himself at whatever point he faces terrible circumstances. Meandering the roads of the city, Dae-Su doesn't have the foggiest idea how to manage his recently discovered opportunity because of his adversaries outlining him as the killer of his better half. At the point when a pack of hooligans assault him, he finds that his 10 out of 15 years of paid off. He fights them off with just his clenched hands. Then, Dae-Su remains on the road seeing fish swimming in an aquarium, when a vagrant strolls up and gives him a wallet loaded with cash and a cell phone. He then, at that point, meets me, Do Kang Hai Jing, a young lady who works in a sushi bar. He perceives her from a cooking show he frequently watched while detained, and she says he looks recognizable as well. An obscure man contacts Dae-Su through his cell phone and cases to be the person who detained him. He makes reference to it was a trial and insults Dae-Su to come and track down him and gain proficiency with the justification behind the detainment. He provides a secretive insight, a grain of sand and a stone both sink in water, with a similar speed. Dae-Su asks me accomplish for something alive to eat and swallows down a whole living squid, much to Midu's stun. Dae-Su implodes with a high fever. Midu shows compassion for him and takes him. At her condo, Dae-Su encounters a snapshot of shortcoming and attempts to physically attack Midu. She battles him off, yet comprehends he did it because of distress. She lets him know that she will have intercourse to him soon, and she will demonstrate when she is prepared for it. Throughout the following couple of days, Midu does a few requests and figures out that Dae-Su's girl has been embraced by a couple in Sweden. Dae-Su chooses not to reach her yet and returns home with Midu, just to figure out that she has been visiting on her PC for quite a while with an individual, who therefore uncovers to be Dae-Su's detainer. Dae-Su feels he can't confide in Midu and leaves. In light of the flavor of the dumplings that he ate for a long time while detained, and having seen the name Blue Dragon on a receipt section once, Dae-Su goes to different Chinese cafes with Blue Dragon in the name to decide precisely which eatery it was. At the point when he at long last views as the right one, called Wizardry Blue Dragon, he follows the conveyance kid on one of his calls and tracks down the jail. When there, he finds and ties up the jail's chief, Mr. Park, and torments him by taking out the man's teeth with a hook hammer 15, one for every year he was detained. Mr. Park guides him toward tape accounts, one bearing his name. From the recording, Dae-Su discovers that the office is a confidential jail for individuals who need somebody locked away. His capture had him reserved for quite a long time and, surprisingly, recommended what medications to give him on the off chance that he'd go crazy. The main explanation the capturer would give is, goodness Dae-Su blabbers upon leaving. The jail monitors pick on Dae-Su, yet he battles them generally off with just his claw hammer and his exposed clench hands in spite of the fact that he gets betrayed. Seriously harmed, Dae-Su is placed into a taxi by a man cruising by. The man sends the taxi off to Midu's correct location, uncovering he is Dae-Su's detainer. However, Dae-Su can't make a difference with it in his debilitated state. Back at home, Midu medical caretakers him back to well-being. Dae-Su goes to see his close buddy Ju-Hwan in his web shop and plays the copying for him. Ju-Hwan doesn't perceive the voice, however prevails with regards to distinguishing Midu's online visit companion, an individual referring to himself as Evergreen. They start a visit and Evergreen praises Dae-Su on the grounds that his better half's homicide case has been excused and insults him some more. Dae-Su gets back and attempts to viciously compel additional data from Midu, in any case thinking she is working with Evergreen. Abruptly, Ju-Hwan calls, saying that he has found Evergreen's client ID and tracked down the proprietor's subtleties. The proprietor's name is Sude Goodness, and there is likewise a location. Dae-Su acknowledges it is a condo in the structure across the road from Midu's apartment. He surges off, researches the condo, lastly meets his capturer, a man called Wu Jin Yuji Tae, and his protector, Mr. Hon, in one of the rooms. Dae-Su attempts to assault, however is crippled by Hon. Cham Jin tells Dae-Su he can't kill him, since, in such a case that he does, he won't ever realize the reason why he was detained, and assuming that he attempts to utilize torment, Wu Jin will remotely deactivate the pacemaker he had precisely positioned in his own chest. Be that as it may, Wu Jin offers to play a game with Dae-Su. He should figure out why this happened to him in the following 5 days. Assuming that he comes up short, Midu will kick the bucket on July 5th. Assuming he succeeds, Wu Jin vows to commit suicide. While leaving, Wu Jin nonchalantly comments that Dae-Su left his front entryway open. Dae-Su races home and finds that Mr. Park and his posse of hooligans have caught and physically manhandled Do. Dae-Su is messed up, and Mr. Park is going to utilize similar teeth-playing torment prank on Dae-Su when Mr. Han sees up out and offers Mr. Park a bag loaded with cash on the off chance that he leaves. Park takes it, and keeping in mind that leaving, Dae-Su takes steps to remove Park's hand. Dae-Su and Do leave the condo. Out and about, they develop nearer together, and Do shows she is prepared to have intercourse. After the affection making, they are gassed and Jin leaves a bundle in their room. It contains Mr. Park's cut-off hand. Dae-Su understands that Jin can hear each word he says, so he probably messed with him. They go to a shop and have a wire taken off from his shoe. The following day, with Do's assistance, Dae-Su figures out that Evergreen alludes to his old secondary school, where he finds Jin was once an individual understudy. He calls his companion Ju-Won, who affirms the finding, and notices that Jin's sister, who went to the school simultaneously and had an unbridled standing, committed suicide later. Nonetheless, because of the not having the option to keep an eye on Dae-Su any longer, Jin has gone too.